Hey guys, Ike here from IkesOutdoors.com. Today I'm going to show you how to make your own arrow wraps for pennies. Okay, so just quickly before I tell you how you can do this, for you guys that aren't familiar with what arrow wraps are a piece of vinyl that's got an adhesive on the back of it that you can stick on the back end of your arrows. And the idea behind these arrow wraps is simply to make your arrow look cooler. Actually, the idea behind it is to make them look more visible in the woods, and it also helps your vanes adhere. Vanes stick to this vinyl wrap a lot better than they do a standard carbon shaft. So, how you can do this, and there's a lot of companies out there that make these arrow wraps. One Stringer makes a really good ones. What I use is the backwood arrow wraps, and backwood arrow wraps are fantastic. They're great arrow wraps, they're very durable, and they're pretty affordable. But I found a way to make my own arrow wraps literally for pennies. So I'm going to show you guys how I do that. Okay, so if you guys are familiar with this Cricut machine, they make these rolls of vinyl wrap for them. And the nice thing about these rolls of vinyl wrap is they're pretty affordable, but it comes in a big roll. I ordered 2 rolls. I ordered this camouflage roll, which I used on my project bow on Facebook and Instagram. I just threw it on the floor. And I also used this. I also ordered a roll of this white. This is made by Easy Auto Wrap, and this is exactly the same stuff that you see these guys put on cars. You can put this on your arrows just like it is, and you can also use a heat gun or a hair dryer to heat it up and make it stick a little bit better. But these rolls, I found these rolls on Walmart and Amazon anywhere from $6 for a roll up to about $10 a roll, especially to more. You know, they make them higher price as well. But I found a 5-foot long by 1 foot wide roll of this white stuff on Walmart's website for $7. And I found the camo on Amazon for $10.99. So pretty cheap rolls, and they're pretty easy to make into your own arrow wrap. So I'm going to show you exactly what you need and how I go about making these arrow wraps. Okay, to make these wraps you're going to need just a few things. You're going to need something sharp. I have a X-Acto knife. You're going to need a pen. You're going to need a ruler, and you're going to need a cutting board. And that's going to be just about all you're going to need. Now, a standard diameter arrow, you're going to need about 1 inch in width on your vinyl wrap. If you're shooting a smaller diameter arrow, unfortunately, I don't know what that's going to be, but it's going to be, you know, something less than an inch, and you're going to have to mess with the width on these to determine exactly what that width needs to be. So, what I did when I first got these in was, these are 1 foot wide, and I'm generally going to do my wraps at about 1 foot. So it makes it nice because it's 1 inch. 1 inch wide wrap is what I need. Got 12 inches, so I'm going to get 12 out of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to determine how long I want my wrap, and for me, I want mine about 6 inches long. So I'm going to go up here, and this isn't brain surgery, so this doesn't have to be perfect. On the back side of this, I'm going to make a mark at 6 inches. And I'm going to make another mark at 6 inches, and I'm going to use my ruler to connect those and draw a straight line, lining that up just like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this, and I'm going to take my X-Acto knife, and I'm basically going to run right down the edge of that ruler, just like that. You can see we got a nice smooth straight cut there. And now we've got a 12 inch by 6 inch piece of vinyl. Now this ruler is almost exactly 1 inch wide, so it works out really good. So all I need to do now is put it right up against the factory edge. Make sure it's against the factory edge on both sides. Take my X-Acto knife or sharp knife, and there is 1 arrow wrap. I continue doing this all the way across until I get to the number that I need, which for me is generally about 12. I like to do this by the dozen, but if you only need 6, you can go across and do 6 or 3 or 9 or 11 or whatever you need, and boom, just like that. Okay, so if you do end up cutting these into 6-inch wraps, what you're going to do is you're going to get 12 out of it on the width, and you're going to get 6 inches on the length. So if you do that, you're going to get about 120 wraps out of this 5-foot roll. 5-foot roll, even at $10 a roll, which is high, that's what I paid for the camo wrap, you're going to get these for about 8 cents per arrow wrap. So you're going to be able to do 120 arrows, which is a lot of arrows, and it's only going to cost you about 8 cents for each one of these individual wraps. Okay, so let's show you how to wrap these. Wrapping an arrow is very, very easy. Anyone can do it. All you're going to need is something soft. A mouse pad will work really well. If you're using something, if you're making, a 12-inch or 14-inch wrap or something like that, obviously you're going to need something longer. Now, I'm doing something a little bit weird to these arrows. This has got nothing to do with this video, but I'm going to show you how to wrap. But I'm going to be showing you the front of the arrow, and the reason for that is, if you guys are curious about this, I can make another video on it. I'm wrapping the front half of my arrow, and the reason I'm wrapping the front half of my arrow is because I want these to be more visible, but I also want more front of center weight. I want the arrow to be heavier overall, and I need the arrow to be just a little bit stiffer than what it is. These are 400 spine arrows. I'm shooting 62 pounds, and I'm shooting them out of a really, really aggressive bow, and they're just a little bit weak. So by wrapping this, I'm doing a couple different things. I'm making my spine just a little bit stiffer. I'm also making my front of center weight a little bit more. I'm also making the overall weight of the arrow more. So that's why I'm wrapping the front of my arrow. Most of the time, you're not going to see guys doing this. Guys are only going to be wrapping the back half of their arrow. But before I did this video, I actually wrapped and fletched all of my arrows. So I'm going to show you how to wrap an arrow, and it's going to be exactly the same way on the back side. What you're going to be doing is just going to be the exact same steps. So what you're going to do is you're going to need something soft here, and what you're going to need is you're going to need to be able to push that arrow in there as you're rolling. You're going to take one of these wraps and you're going to take the adhesive off the back of it. You're going to clean your arrow shaft with a little bit of alcohol. The alcohol is just going to clean up that arrow shaft and allow it to adhere without getting dirt or anything stuck in it like that. What I do is take on the back of the arrow, you're going to take the back of the arrow where it meets the nock. Here I'm using the front of the arrow because I'm like I said, we're doing something different. So I'm using the insert. I'm going to put the front of the arrow even with the edge. I'm going to put, and again in that situation, you're going to use the back of the arrow right up against the nock. You're going to make sure it's touching at the back, and make sure it's just as straight as you can get it. You're going to press down on both sides and give it nice firm pressure, and then all you're going to do is roll it just like that. And as you roll it, you'll see that it will stick right to the shaft, and when you get done, that seam right there, just knock that seam down, and you've got a nice wrap on the back side of your arrow, and you can go ahead and put your wraps or your veins on there, and you'll get a really good adhesion to it, and you'll have a really visible, nice arrow. Okay, so you can see there when you're said and done, you've got a really nice looking arrow. It's really visible, and like I said, it's really cheap to do it this way. Very, very minimal amount of effort. I mean, it takes you just a few minutes to get a dozen of these things ready, and just a few minutes to apply it before you go ahead and fletch your arrow. It's super cheap to do it this way. Like we calculated, you're going to get 120 wraps doing it at 6 inches. If you're doing it shorter, obviously you're going to get more. And at $10 a roll, they're going to cost you 8 cents. So if you do it my way and you're getting the $10 roll, it's going to cost you 8 cents. You're going to get 120 wraps out of there. Again, if you're using a 4-inch or a 3-inch, obviously you're going to get way more wraps out of each roll. And if you're using a cheaper roll, it's going to cost you even less. So 8 cents a wrap, doing it with my measurements, is really, really cheap. 120 wraps on this. This white is going to last me forever. I do, sometimes I'll mess up a couple wraps a year, but most of the time, if I do a dozen arrows, they're wrapped for at least a year, sometimes 2. So 120 wraps should last me for 8 to 10 years. So at 8 cents a wrap for 8 to 10 years worth of wraps, that's a pretty dang good deal. So that is how I save money on my arrow wraps. And again, I'm not taking away from any of the companies out there. These guys make fantastic wraps. I've had a really good experience with backwoods arrow wraps and one stringer, and they do a really good job of making custom wraps. So if you want something that really looks cool and something that looks custom, hit one of those guys up. But if you want something like this, you can get them in all different colors. You can get white, you can get green, you can get camo, you can get pink, you can get glitter, you can get all kinds of stuff. You can also get these that are pretty cool that'll glow in the dark, and you can also get them that are reflective. I really like the reflective, and I wish I would have went that way, but I didn't realize they made them in reflective until after I'd already ordered this white. So reflective, when your light hits it, it'd be just like the reflection strip on a trailer. It would really show up that way when you're out in the dark looking for your arrows. So check these out. Again, you can get these wraps on Amazon, you can get these wraps on Walmart, and it's a really fun project. If you're watching this in the future, if you're watching this right now and you're stuck at home with the coronavirus lockdown, this is a really fun project for you and your kids to do while you're sitting around the house doing nothing. So check this out. It's really easy to do and really fun. So for more videos like this, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And please be sure to follow us on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook under Ike's Outdoors. Appreciate you guys watching.